The place to be is living free in Tennessee.
Well, welcome to Living Free in Tennessee, where we talk about building the life you choose on your terms, except today is the Living Free podcast. Welcome to the Living Free podcast, where we talk about building a life without limits. I have a different tagline on Wednesdays, and I always forget that. So that's part of the fun, and that's part of the transition. And Spags got to witness that one. So there we go.
That was fun.
Today is Wednesday, September 17th, 2025, and I've got Bobby Spags today to share his personal story, and then Alan Booker is coming on later. And I called this show How to Build Community because Spags is an excellent, top-notch community builder, and I was kind of pre-asking him some questions before the show, and what he was telling me was that he's an excellent, top-notch community builder. That's not what he was telling me, but that was what was underlying and what we were talking about. So we're going to do that. Before we do that, though, I want to thank two sponsors today. The first sponsor is Above Phone. If you want a privacy phone experience, you don't want the NSA looking at everything that you do, and all the data miners mining your Facebook practices with your contact list, with whatever you bought on Thursday at Walmart. You need to get an Above Phone or something like it. They have great products. They work off the shelf. It comes to your house. You enter a PIN and it just works. You put your SIM card in there. And if you're having trouble learning some of the new tools, every phone comes with a 45-minute consultation. My recommendation is try to make it work first and then do the consultation so you get more out of it. AbovePhone.com. If you use the coupon code LivingFreeTN for Living Free in Tennessee, you get $50 off. So definitely do that. And if you don't use the coupon code, tell them I sent you so they know that like their sponsorship is making a difference. Our second sponsor is, guess who? Self-Reliance Festival. Self-Reliance Festival is October 5th and 4th in Camden, Tennessee. And I told Bobby before the show that my head's been a little marshmallowy. So apparently dates are backwards today. Anyway, it's a Saturday, Sunday, and we've got a full agenda. We've got a singles meetup. Before we start on Sunday, there is somebody doing a church service. So that's something that has been part of the event for the last, 3-4 events, but never made it to the agenda because he wasn't always sure he was coming. He is coming this time, so now we can put it on the agenda. But check that out, selfreliancefestival.com, and find your tribe in Camden, Tennessee. With that, Bobby, welcome to the show. I probably should have made you sit in the green room, but here you are.
That's okay. I got to listen firsthand after the sheep munching. Thanks for having me, Nicole. That was fun.
So the sheep munching noise is actually popcorn being chewed.
Well, you fooled me, so you're really good at it.
I was like, my jingle is shorter than this video. What do? We chew popcorn until the video jingle can come on.
ASMR prepper style.
People who hate hearing people chew.
Yep.
They don't like that sound. So those of you on my audio podcast, that part is not in the audio podcast. So you have to go to one of the live shows to see what that is.
It's worth it, at least once.
Yep. So, and friends in the live stream, could you hit like and share out and let people know we're live? Because if you have questions you want to hear as part of this, we'd love to hear them. And just put the word question in all caps or comment in all caps. We're going to dig into some places where we don't usually dig with Bobby today.
Ooh.
Yeah. Do you have a sofa you could lay down on?
I do. And I have a stuffed animal somewhere in one of my kids' rooms. I can hold it and cry into it if I need to.
So I learned today that Bobby was not always a super positive, collaborative, build the pie so everybody prospers, a rising tide, whatever. What's the rest of that? The rising tide.
All ships rise with the tide.
Floats all boats? Is it floats all boats?
Sure.
I don't know. See, I'm telling you guys, marshmallow brain. Welcome to Nicole's marshmallow brain. It's going to be a trip today. There was a time when we had an angry Bobby.
Yeah.
So let's go before angry Bobby was angry.
Sure.
Made you angry. How were you before that? Like, How was the OG Spags?
OG Spags was kind of in his own head a lot. I was homeschooled all 12 years. And so I grew up moving around because my dad was Air Force. So every 2 to 3 years, I had to make all new friends, leave friends, make new friends, leave friends. So I was homeschooled. So my social life growing up was very, I don't know, different than most kids. And so by the time I was 18, 19, I wanted everyone to be my friend because I wasn't used to having very many friends at all. And so I was kind of in that oversharing, over trying, nerdy, how do I make friends when I have no clue how to do this?
So you were the eager homeschool kid.
Yeah, very much the eager homeschool kid. And so naturally, I solved that problem for the first 3 years by going out and becoming a private security contractor in the late 90s and using my hands to help and to hurt, I suppose would be the good way to put it. And then I joined the Army in 1999 and was in the Army for 15 years. And that's really where the transition from OG Spags into Angry Spags really started.
So early on in the Army, were you expecting to deploy to violent areas when you joined, or were you just kind of doing that because you needed a purpose?
It was the latter. When I was doing the mercenary work in the 90s, there was a moment where it got very, very sketchy very quickly. And at the time, the girl I was dating was like, it's me or the job. And I was stupid. And I thought that it was, I was in love. And so I quit the job. And like a month later, I'm like, I need to find something to do. I can't just work at Lowe's Home Improvement Warehouse for the rest of my life, which is what I was doing as my regular job. So I joined the Army Reserve thinking, shit, what could possibly happen in the Army Reserve? It was 1999. The Cold War was over. I went in as a military police officer. I figured I'd go once a month, drive around in a patrol car, and maybe find some drunk GI, take him back to the barracks, break up a barracks fight once in a while, something like that. And it was going to be pretty even keel. Well, a year and a half later, September 11th, 2001, that completely went out the window. So... But yeah. I did it for a purpose, really, something to do.
So where were you on September 11th?
I was 3 stories up on a ladder in Newton, Kansas, painting the side of a house because that's what I was at the time. I had left Lowe's, joined the Army Reserve, and then my regular job was a house painter here in Topeka. Well, I went down to Newton for a few months and was painting a house, and my buddy would always bring a little tiny TV, and on our break we would just turn on the news and take our break, smoke a few cigarettes, and go back to work. Well, that day was 9/11, and so we were off the ladders the rest of the day in front of the TV, and at one point I looked at him and I said, I think I need to go home. I think I need to go call my sergeant. And so I left, and by the time I got home, the phone was ringing for me to get sent to Fort Riley active duty.
That's how fast that happened.
It was within a day. Yeah.
What happens to the company that employs you in that situation? Are they just screwed?
Yeah, they have to. It's really a bad situation for employers of reservists and guardsmen because they're legally required to hold your position. They can fill it. Someone else can have it while you're gone, but they have to give you either the same position or a position of equal status and or pay when you come back. And so when you have these small painting companies that hire 3 or 4 dudes, I go, they hire someone else, what's going to happen, So it's actually really tough on employers.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I worked with a company where the reservist over 4 or 5 years got deployed 3 times for 9 months or more.
Right.
And we always replaced him, but he always came back in. And the 3rd time he just he put in notice because he felt too guilty about it.
Yeah. It's tough.
Went into defense contracting and probably made decent money after that. But yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Of course. Okay. So there you were. You're in the Army and you get deployed. Where'd you go?
Well, the first deployments were actually mobilizations. It was stateside. This was the first time the reserves have been called up in any meaningful way, really, for a very long time. And so the active component, the active military police on Fort Riley deployed at the time to Afghanistan. And so we filled in for them and basically took over full-time law enforcement duties at Fort Riley. So for 24 continuous months, with about a 3-week break in between 2 12-month periods, I was on active duty doing the military police, the law enforcement thing, domestic disturbances, fires, emergency response, in addition to securing the post. We had to do post security too and lock down the gates, and it was all sorts of stuff. But it was 24 months. And the way that it ended up shaking out in the reserve at the time was once you had so much time on active duty, they wouldn't bring you up. They wouldn't bring you up again for like 5 years. And so I didn't go anywhere after those first 2 tours at Fort Riley. I was pretty safe at Fort Riley, just drilling as a regular reservist, doing my 2 or 3 weeks in the summer, 1 week in the month thing again after 9/11 until 2008, when that 5-year period was pretty well over, from 2003 to 8, and I got called up to go to Iraq.
Okay. So before we go to Iraq, I've noticed in the preparedness world and also in the homesteading world, we have a lot of former military, police, and emergency responders.
Huh?
Would you
Yes.
say after that experience of policing that you were already going into the preparedness world, or did that happen later?
The word prepper didn't exist yet, but I started prepping in 1998. I started prepping when I was doing mercenary work because of the nature of some of the stuff I was doing at the time. It was just very obvious that there was a very thin veil that was holding back society from ever entering into complete chaos, and that most of it was made up. And then Y2K, of course, that whole scare came around in 99. And so I was like, well, it doesn't hurt to have some water. It doesn't hurt to have a shotgun. It doesn't hurt to have some MREs. And I was the traditional just stacker prepper. As far as skills, I was a military-ish, military adjacent kind of guy. So I just figured I'd be that guy who's providing security, because that's all I knew at 20, 21 years old.
We're all providing security, right? That's what everybody wants to do.
Yeah, everyone wants to be
do it.
security. I'm like, bro, that's like baseline now. Now that when you go from prepping to homesteading, you realize the guy with the rifle is probably the least valuable person. Not valueless, but the least valuable.
Well, and some of us should never be put on that duty.
Right.
So there's that too. That's the other thing you realize. And some of us who think we should be put on that duty should not be put on that duty.
No, it's good. And it's a good proving ground too, when everyone's like, I want to be the rifleman. Okay, well, cool. Let's ask some questions. Let's play a round of conflicted, or a round of without rule of law. Let's get to see how you feel about the world real quick before I put you out there, because I don't know that I want you there.
Mm-hmm. You totally don't want me there. Okay, so then you went to Iraq. What was your role there, if you're allowed to tell us what your role there was?
Yeah, I can talk about it. We went to Camp Bucca, which was at the time the largest. It was called a theater internment camp, which is just a fancy way of saying enemy prisoner of war camp. When I got there, it was at the height. There was about 22,000 detainees held there that were captured during the surge. IED makers, kidnappers. We had some of the guys there that did the whole beheading of that one soldier that became a very famous rallying cry around 2004 or 5. They were there. So I was the first sergeant of the guard for a modern day Army death row compound. And that sounds grisly, but what it really means is that these guys went to Triple CI, the courts in Baghdad. They were found guilty of X, Y, or Z, and they were sentenced to death by the provisional Iraqi government. And so the compound I ran had 6 buildings with like 40 people in each one, and they were all slated to go receive the death penalty in Baghdad, which never happened, which was part of the problem. but that's what I did. It was glorified babysitting, being basically a jailer. It was probably the most miserable year of my life ever. Doing exactly what I thought I was always meant to do. It was just really bad.
Why was it miserable?
Bad leadership. The commander of the unit we were in was extremely selfish. He was out for himself. This was 2008, so the housing bubble was just about to pop, but he spent his entire year writing a book about how to easily flip real estate. He got his college degree while over there, and he ended up winning a Bronze Star for doing nothing but sitting behind a desk the whole time. And yet any of us, if we stepped 1 inch out of line, instant Article 15, UCMJ action, he would hammer everybody. So it was just one of those really top-down heavy commands where the commander didn't care about the morale of the soldiers. All he cared about was getting his Bronze Star so he could put it on his resume when he got home.
Was that where you started seeing how messed up the system is?
Yeah, that was really the thing. When I first deployed to Iraq, I was a typical red flag waving conservative Republican. Are you still there, or did you jump out?
Oh no, I'm here. I had to scratch my eye.
Oh, I gotcha. I didn't. I wanted to make sure that things hadn't frozen. So yeah,
Yeah.
I was a Ronald Reagan-esque Republican. You know, Ronald Reagan was God. He could do no wrong. Space Wars was the coolest thing he ever did. You know, put machine guns on the south border and for $4.99 a minute live stream it. You too can play border security type of Republican. I voted for George Bush twice. I voted for John McCain while I was over there, and that's where the real FU started to hit. We got over there. First and foremost, the election, we got to do advanced ballot election that year because we were at Fort Dix, New Jersey right prior to the right before November. We were there in October. So we all did advanced ballot voting, which was still kind of back then, but it was the only way we could vote. So we all vote. And about 3 months after we're in country, a lot of us received certified letters from the U.S. Postal Service saying that they had lost our ballot. We're sorry, but your ballot has not been counted. So that really started me kind of down the spiral of, wait a minute, what? This isn't supposed to happen. And we realized that a good chunk of people who are deployed, their votes were never counted. This also applied to foreign contractors and DoD personnel. And, you know, hell, there were people at the U.S. Postal Service there at Camp Bucca whose ballots didn't get counted. So there was a lot of people whose vote never got counted. The second thing that really started to irritate me was the Army no longer, at that time anyway, owned its own tents. Everything was a private contract. So halfway through our deployment, half the tents disappeared. And we're all like, well, where'd this tent go? Where'd this tent go? Where did that serve? Where do you know, each of these tents served a purpose. And well, where do we go for this or that? Well, you have to go to this tent now. Well, what happened to that one? Well, the KBR contract ran out. The Army didn't renew it because they're going to draw the base down in a year and shut it down. Oh. And then all the sandbags, big green Army sandbags, those aren't owned by the Army anymore. Each one had a giant, no shit, a logo this big, Future Systems Incorporated, stamped on every single sandbag. And so you really started to see the corporate, the military industrial complex started shining through at that point. And you're like, wait a minute. And so then we're also told, because we're doing this super secret mission where we're guarding the worst of the worst, the president knows who you are. He has a dossier with all your names. This is a highly visible mission, so don't F it up. You know, don't beat the detainees, don't burn a Quran, don't step on their headdress, all that stuff that had been in the news, right? Come to find out, none of it was true. The president had no clue we existed. Camp Bucca had basically created this compound because they had nowhere else to put these people, and that was the only reason it existed. It wasn't high profile at all. Most of them weren't even going to go get hung. So we were lied to about the whole mission, from our command, from higher command, from the brigade, from the commander of Camp Bucca down. We were lied to about the mission. Mm-hmm. And they did it to scare us into not beating the shit out of these people if they threw, you know, piss in our face, or if they tried to fight us, we weren't allowed to fight back, you know. So all in the post Abu Ghraib world.
So you came back from that, and what was Bobby like post Iraq?
Oh man, I thought that integration back into the civilian world at first was easy. I'm like, oh, I don't know why anybody thinks this is so hard. As I'm drinking my 19th whiskey of the night, you know, as I'm yelling at my wife for some stupid thing for the 5th time that day, as I'm barking at my kids because they cut me off in the hallway or something, right? I thought I was fine, and I most certainly was not, and I was very angry. I went full swing. I left Christianity. I left the Republican Party. Everything I thought that I had believed in before I went there, I felt like that rug had been pulled out from under me. And I just left it all. I went scorched earth. Like one of the first things I did, for some reason in my mind, this was a priority. One of the first things I did was I registered independent. I left the Republican Party. I thought that's the thing to do. This is how I'm going to make a change. I'm removing my support. And so I don't know, man. I went back to, my job wasn't there when I came home because of the 08, 09 economic bubble. The house painter I worked for had to shutter his shop. And so I came back to no job. other than my unemployment from the military and my 30 days of terminal leave. So I had saved up enough time to have 30 days of pay. And that's all I had. So I had 30 days to find a job. Luckily, one of my former commanders was working through the Wounded Warrior program as a congressional aide for a congresswoman here in Kansas, and he got me a job working there. So luckily, the job thing didn't last for more than maybe a month and a half, 2 months. I was unemployed, but all of that weight was there, man. Unemployment. I didn't know where I was morally. I didn't know where I was spiritually. I didn't know where I was philosophically or politically. I just was angry all the time.
Did they have any did they do anything to help you with that proactively as you got out, or was it like you're home and that's it?
There was like 3 days worth of briefings you had to sit through from 5 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock at night. So, I mean, there was that, I guess. You know, how not to beat your wife when you get home, how not to yell at your kids when you get home, but they're doing it at 4 or 5 in the morning. You're tired, you're angry, you're ready to go home. You don't want to be there anymore. You've been in the desert for 11 months. And now you're back literally in the same country as your family, but you're 10 hours away because they have to keep you for 30 days to make sure you're okay. And during that 30 days, you're cleaning everything for the 15th time. You're sitting through another briefing for the 12th time, and you're just mad. So yes, they have programs in place. They make you more angry. It's the old joke of the only thing that makes a soldier want to unalive himself is the unaliving training. And you're just like, God, this is worse. I don't want to be here anymore. So it was pretty rough.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if that's intentional.
Well, you know, sometimes you wonder. We put the uniform on. You're a guinea pig. That's true.
Well, your VA costs go down if you're not there anymore.
Sure. Death panels, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so you thought you were fine. If you would have asked anybody around you, they would have said he's changed. He's got a hair trigger.
Yeah.
Temper.
Oh yeah. I think that for a long time, people were trying to walk on eggshells around me without me even realizing that was the thing. You know, it wasn't good. I definitely was not the best version of myself I'd ever been. My wife and I got real strained there for a bit. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know that they would have been honest with me because it probably would have set me off. I didn't want to hear anything from anybody at that point.
So what made you realize you had a problem?
My wife and I almost breaking up, a really bad incident that occurred at home between her and I, that led to me going and getting some counseling.
And you went into the counseling with an open mind then?
No, I still went in as me, but being there opened my mind. I would say that going and actually talking to this guy helped. I don't know that I went in. I don't think I went in with an open mind. I think I went in thinking I was right about everything and everybody else was the problem.
Okay. Somehow you went to a good psychologist then.
He was good. For one, it was a guy, so he could talk to me at my level. Two, he owned guns. I mean, I'm absolutely positive the guy was center left, but he didn't act like it. He acted like a regular American. So like I was talking to a bro, you know, and it was fine. And he had this big, deep voice, and he would tell me when I was fucking up. And you know, that was one of the prerequisites when I went and talked to him. I said, I don't want this mamby-pamby, tell me how you feel shit. If I am broken, you need to tell me. And if I'm not broken, you need to tell me. And so he never shied away from being just brutally honest with me. And I think that that's what really kind of started to help.
So the lesson there is if other people think maybe you should go get help, maybe you should go get help.
Maybe you should, man. I'm not going to say that everything that modern healthcare does is right or good, but I will certainly say that the stigma around men specifically seeking mental help needs to go away because there's a good chunk of us who still in many ways aren't okay. And whether it's societal or spiritual or whatever, there has never really been a push for male mental health. And there's never really been a push for guys to even admit they have a problem. Man, just go out in the woods and work it out. You know, that's all we're ever told. So yeah, I would say that if people are telling you need help, I'd at least consider it. Just be careful where you go to get it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I know in Tactical's journey, he had to go to a psychologist at one point or a psychiatrist. I don't know which this one was. And she told him she knew how he felt. And he's like, unless you have been deployed in a combat zone, you actually don't know how I feel. And the minute she said that, nothing
shuts him down.
Yeah, it was just, where in the one he sees now, she told him, I don't know how you feel, but we'll work on this.
Yeah.
It's like, I know I don't know how you feel, but I have tools that can help you learn to deal with what's going on. And that subtle difference, it's like one person to the next.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just don't gel with somebody.
That's very true. I'm very grateful for the guy that I went and saw because we gelled pretty quick.
Yeah. Okay. So you, in the prepper journey, where were you at by that point? Had you figured out that it wasn't just about how much stuff you can throw in your garage?
No, this was right about the time. Well, I mean, it was more than that, yes, but it was still prepper. We hadn't, the whole prepper verse was still stuck in things like, that's when Doomsday Preppers was on and Build Your Prepping Castle and all those weird TV shows. And that's about the time that I became the vice president at the time of Kansas Prepper Expo, which then eventually morphed into Full Spectrum Preparedness LLC. And I was the MC and vice president of both of those companies. And it was still very preppery, right? What are the coolest gadgets, the coolest guns, how much ammo, what's the best shelf-stable food? And I think because so many people in the prepping world are middle to lower income or very low income, everyone is looking for the cheapest, quickest, longest lasting solutions to the things that they think are going to be the problem, which is why everybody wants MREs and a 22 pistol, because they think that's all, because ultimately it's all they can afford. And so they justify it as all they'll ever need.
Yeah. Beans and rice.
Yep. Enjoy the scurvy, because that's what you're going to get.
Before?
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's a good way to get malnourished very quickly and constipated. Just don't do it.
Yeah. Or you might be the opposite of constipated. It depends on who you are.
Depends on the bean, I guess.
Yeah. You saw that guy who lived on MREs for a month and just had intestinal distress the whole time.
Yes. Those things are horrible. I don't even use them anymore. I have gotten rid of every MRE that was in any bunker I may or may not have had. And we have all gone to growing gardens, and we have some, and we canned food, and we have some we have a lot of Thrive Life, because Thrive Life isn't nearly as bad for you as an MRE, but that's considered the backup to the backup to the backup.
Yeah. I like making my own, but my freeze dryer is currently broken. And I actually haven't responded to Angela about if she could make me an entire batch of beef and tomato only, no beans, chili.
Yeah.
So I'll see if she can. If she can't at this point, whatever. But like when we go backpacking, freeze-dried meals are amazing.
Yes.
And then the fact you can do homemade, whole foods, no additives, from your actual beef, from your actual cow with that tool. Really reduces the mountain house impact of having a freeze-dried meal on the trail. That's all I'll say.
So much better. So much better.
Yeah. Okay, so you got into the expo, and at the time you were also a diehard libertarian, right?
Yes, I had decided at that point from independent, I was like, okay, I knew there was no way I would go left wing. No jiving there, absolutely nothing in common. But I was like, well, what's this thing called libertarianism? And so a few of my friends online were heavy libertarians. I got involved with the Libertarian Party here in Topeka, Kansas. I helped get the first libertarian member to the city council elected. In 2011, I was active and very instrumental in keeping open carry legal and unlicensed in the city of Topeka, which then spilt over to 3 other small towns. And then when Sam Brownback became the governor of the state, he implemented open carry, constitutional carry statewide, and then included concealed carry. So you don't have to have a license for either. You can start concealing at 21. You can open carry a handgun at 18 in Kansas now. So I was instrumental in pushing through libertarian gun policy, getting libertarians elected. I tried really hard to get a former friend of mine to get elected as mayor of Topeka. He actually got 31% of the vote. I was asked to run for public office a couple of times. I graciously declined because I knew by that point, I had too much going on in my own head to ever be effective at any kind of legislation. So, but yeah, I was heavy into the libertarianism. And then, you end up finding those weird libertarian friends on Facebook who were like, well, if you want small government, how small is small? And you're like, what do you mean? And they're like, have you ever heard of anarcho-capitalism? And I'm like, no, I haven't. And then you deep dive that rabbit hole and you're like, holy shit, I'm an anarchist and I didn't even know it. And then but then you still don't realize that there's multiple kinds of anarchists. So then you're like, well, do I use the black flag and the red fist, or do I use the GAT? Oh no, I don't use, no, those guys are weird. They smell funny. And then you're like, well, the libertarian flag is the Gadsden flag. And then you're like, wait a minute, the Tea Party ruined that for everybody, so I can't use that anymore. And okay, I'm going to use the Guy Fawkes mask. Oh, damn it, Antifa's using the Guy Fawkes mask. What can I do? And so you just spiral in this libertarian maelstrom of trying to figure out where all that even goes.
Yeah, and you were a born-again libertarian anarchist, weren't you?
Yeah, I was.
Spreading the word.
Spreading the word of Ron Paul, like I mentioned before, man, it was like that meme where you have all the urinals and there's one dude here and this dude walks in and right over here. Have you ever heard of being a libertarian? What do you think of a world with no government? Income taxes, taxes or taxation is theft, and I became very obnoxious about it. I became like a vapor or a CrossFitter or someone who's a vegan. They just won't shut the hell up about it. That was me with libertarianism. And about that time is when I discovered what Facebook was. And that was the biggest mistake of my life.
Really? Is that all still up there
Oh,
somewhere?
God, no. I went, because I ended up working for Congress for 8 years. In that interim time, I learned very quickly not to have my boss as my friend, because the chief of staff for the congresswoman would see the things I was posting and how angry I was posting. And he's like, dude, this is a problem. You got to cut this out or you're going to lose your job. So I unfriended everybody, and then I would wipe that whole account clean, start a new account. I'm only going to add the people who think just like me, and because I just need my confirmation bias, right? So I'd add all these hardcore libertarians and anarchists. And then some random family members like, what happened to your Facebook? I don't see pictures of your kids. Okay, I can add that person. So you add that person, but they're not a libertarian. So all of a sudden they're cross-posting on what you're saying. Now you're fighting with your family. And the whole thing was just ugly. And I was an ugly, ugly Facebooker back then.
So what was your low point on your journey to freedom, would you say?
When it became apparent that I was falling into the trap of it's my way or no way because I'm right, and it was pushing everybody away. My friends weren't hanging out with me. My wife could barely stand to be around me. My kids didn't want to be around me. No, some people would still hang out with me on Facebook, but they were every bit as toxic as I was. And because I was working at the expo, or I was part owner of the expo, people would want to, I ended up having 2 Facebook accounts, one for Bobby Spags, the MC of the expo, and one for me. And well, this person's like, well, I like you at the expo. I like libertarian politics. Can I be on your other page? Sure, I'd add them. But they weren't as libertarian as I was. Or maybe they were more libertarian than I was. Now I'm arguing with the people I'm trying to sell tickets to. And I started to notice a decline in the same faces coming back. And I started noticing some of the people that were heavy supporters of the expos stopped posting on the expo pages and stopped attending the expos. And I realized, that holy shit, I might be that guy at the other meme where I stick the spoke in the bicycle that I'm riding and then wanting to blame somebody else for it. And in fact, it was all my fault. I was hurting the causes I cared about.
Well, and that's an interesting thing about free speech. You were free to say all those things. And
Yes.
the consequence was prosperity went down because you were ticking people off.
Yes. Yeah. I did not know how to narrative anything in a positive way. It was all, you're wrong. Let me explain why.
Was there a moment you realized that's what was going on?
Yeah. When the woman I was working for, the congresswoman I was working for, decided not to seek re-election in 2018, the next Republican in line to go for that seat had told all of us, good chance I'll retain you as staff. So he wins. I interview with him and I'm not retained. And part of the reason I was not retained is because he went and deep dived me on Facebook and found all my anti-cop rhetoric, my anti-military industrial complex rhetoric, my anti-system rhetoric. And he's like, why would I have someone like you working for me when I am a former Army Ranger? I'm a member of Congress. You don't even think that this job exists. Why the fuck are you even here? And so, yeah, when I did not get hired on to what should have been an easy shoe-in job, I realized that it was a problem.
Mm-hmm. And what did you do to change? Like, did you sit there and go, well, crap? Or
No, I went through my Facebook feed and I reread everything I had written for about 3 years, which took me about 3 years. I'm kidding. I mean, I was very verbose. I was very wordy. I had the diatribes, but I went back and I reread everything and I realized what a shithead I'd been. I'm like, I am not representing this ideology well. So I went through and I scrubbed the Facebook, got rid of everything, left all the libertarian pages, which was really good for me to do because those places are just toxic. They really are. Um, and I left all the prepping pages. I left all the gun pages. I left everything except for Marketplace and just started over and slowly regained friends and slowly learned how this is a picture of me out here scooping horse poop out of a barn. Ha! And instead of, lecturing people about their politics and their faith. And I was also at this time, I had leaned heavily into atheism. Like it was weird. I was and I wasn't militantly atheist. I was not militantly atheist because I had no problem with the Ten Commandments being on the Supreme Court wall because I'm like, that's American history. There's no reason to remove it. I was militantly atheist because every time somebody would post something about it, I would be like, well, actually. And I just couldn't shut the hell up about it. So I stopped doing that. That was probably the first thing I stopped doing was anything involving religion. I stopped talking about. I still talked a little politics, but not nearly to the extent I did in the years previous. But I just shut the hell up about religion. I realized that was a bad idea.
That's an interesting thing because we are in the week we are in after the week we had last week.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it is better not to talk. Where is the line between when you should talk and it's maybe better for you not to talk?
Very true. Very true. I lost some good friends of mine from the Army when, let's say, the Boston bombing thing took place or Sandy Hook took place. And I was an Alex Jones church member at that point, man. So I was spreading all the conspiracy theories, railing against government, railing against the deep state, railing against the World Economic Forum, to the point where some of my buddies in the Army are like, well, you're supposed to be in charge of me in the Army right now. Why are you saying things like this? And it just completely blew my credibility out of the water.
Right. So where is your line, do you think? Because I know you're a freedom-loving dude who can defend it.
My line in what way?
Like when you will say something about what your opinion is versus will not.
If I can say it in a way where I feel as though it's just me talking with you, we can have the conversation. If I even feel that silverback DNA start to creep up the back of my skull and that I feel my face get flushed and I'm reaching for a bottle of Jim Beam, that's when I know I need to shut the fuck up.
Okay, so when you're feeling the emotional compelled thing to say a thing, so last week, a lot of emotion and a lot of emotionally compelled reason to say things happened. And I watched some people who I know pretty well completely melt down.
Yeah.
Like completely melt down and say some pretty mean things. Most of them are on the right side of the aisle or the libertarian side of the aisle. Some of them are on the left side of the aisle. Both sides were terrible.
Yeah.
Okay, I will say this. Most of the people who were in my feed were not terrible.
Right.
There were some very memorable people who I would not have expected that from who became terrible.
Yeah.
And that's a really good gauge, like emotion. Okay, I need to take a minute and figure out what's up.
Yeah, I almost posted a video, a short, and I erased it. And then I thought about it and I'm like, how can I say that better? And I almost posted a video and then I erased it. And I went through this cycle about 3 times in my backyard. And I just decided, you know what? Nobody fucking cares what I have to say about this. And what I have to say, frankly, isn't important. So I did nothing. And then the next day I was watching, because there's a select few YouTubers I'll watch on political commentary still. And I was watching what their narrative was. And I was watching how they were engaging. And I'm like, that's pretty healthy. I like that. Okay. They're being reasonable. Okay. So the only comment I have made, and I've made it a lot on many videos, the only thing I'm doing is the hashtag I am Charlie Kirk. Mm-hmm. And I figure as long as I keep it right there, I stand with his family. I stand with what he stood for, even if I didn't agree with it all. I am Charlie Kirk. And at that point, I figure I'm showing solidarity. I'm not arguing about the who, the what, the where, or the why. I'm just standing in solidarity with everybody else who's feeling exactly the same thing I am to a varying degree without treading that line of opinion. It's just, I am Charlie Kirk. I think
It's
it says
interesting
everything.
how when you become a personality, people expect a response.
Yeah, which is why I got rid of my YouTube channel, Spags Unfiltered, because that's all it became. It was starting to lead me back down that exact same path that I had been on Facebook. People loved it. They ate it up. I had very little pushback on my videos. But as time went on, I realized I was searching for things to talk about. There's only so many things to bitch about, right? So what am I going to say today in a Spags Unfiltered video that's going to get likes and okay, I got to be a little edgier. And then I realized, oh, no. This is bait. And I cut bait and I quit. And I erased all my old videos. They're all gone. The only videos I have now are my final plea video, which I did in response to what TJ and William had said at SRF. The encounter I had with Bear Independent at SRF changed my life. And so I put out a plea for people, if they were still on my channel, to go to their charities of choice. It wasn't William, it was Billy. Billy Bond had a group he was working with, and Caleb House. And I was trying to get people to go to their channels and to support those causes in reaction to what happened with the hurricane.
Yeah, that's good.
And now there's like 4 or 5 short videos I've made where all I'm doing is now trying to cheerlead everybody away from Spags Unfiltered over to Midwest Preparedness, because I still have like 1,600 people on my YouTube. I don't even know why they're there. I haven't put anything out for them in a long time.
Once you subscribe to something, you don't necessarily unsubscribe, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of them, I'm buried in their algorithm so far down at this point, they don't even know they're still on the channel. So I'll make a video once in a while saying, hey, I'm Bobby Spags, your MC from the MPP, here with your Preparedness PSA of the day. And at the end, I'm trying to get everyone over to Midwest to grow that, because that's now where I'm putting in all my time and effort.
Yeah. By the way, I see tag is in the comments.
Because I'm on my phone, I can't see the comments. I'm like looking through the bottom part of my.
You see it when I do that?
Yeah.
No? Yeah.
I can. It's just so
tiny. Yeah.
I can't even see what it says.
Yeah, we had audio problems, guys. So Spags is not on his usual setup today, but
yeah.
I'm glad we figured that out before we went live, because that would have been difficult.
Yeah, that's why I always try to get backstage 10 minutes early, man, because if something's going to go wrong with technology, it will with me.
Yeah, same. Okay, so you realized because you didn't get a job, which meant you didn't have a job. How did that hit you financially?
Luckily, my wife is better with money than I am. And over the course of the time I was in Iraq, she used a lot of that tax-free combat pay to pay off all my old debt from when I was a retarded 20-year-old. And she had saved about $13,000 back in the bank that and I didn't look at the bank the whole year. I told her, I'm not going to look at it. I don't care. I'm just going to spend $100 a month here for food and toiletries and stuff. So I came back to a very good financial situation. And so because of that, and the fact we had saved a little money, we had quite a bit of precious metals. I was able to sell some of that off. We were fine. But it was for me, with the OCD and the anxiety of not knowing, it killed me. Financially, we were probably better off than I realized. But because I had nothing to do with my time, I felt worthless. I felt like I was letting my family down. I realized I had let my family down through my own stupidity. And it wasn't like I gotten fired. She didn't run for office again, and the new guy didn't hire me. So I realized that's even worse. It means I have almost a decade of experience doing Army Corps of Engineers and FEMA casework. I should have been an easy retention, but I wasn't. And so I realized that in that way I had failed my family. And I think it was more of that than the money.
What did you decide to do differently as a result of that?
My first reaction was to cut ties with a lot of people on Facebook and just keep it down to the core, trying to go back to what I knew, right? Cull the herd, have only people who aren't going to get offended by what I say. And then I was like, well, that could also lead to say less. Okay, I'm going to say less. And then it was, well, maybe I should only talk about non-important things and use social media for fun. And so at that time, a certain video game called Fallout 76 had just come out, which I'm a huge Fallout geek. Love the TV show, love all the games, except for Tactics. That one was dumb. But so I threw all my energy into the video games, and I was like really online gaming every night, playing with my buddies, getting into writing lore, doing machinimas, doing voice acting. I took off in that community every bit as fast as I do when I'm in the preparedness community. And I think what actually taught me a lesson was a vast majority of gamers are liberal, very liberal, like furries, weird costumes, wrapping themselves in rainbow colored virtue weirdos, not like your everyday people who are involved with those lifestyles. I'm talking the weirdos are the ones online gaming. So I had to, as a leader in that community, I had to shut the hell up there too, or I was going to jeopardize everything. So being immersed with people who weren't like me taught me very quickly when not to say something. But ironically enough, that was kind of a crucible that kind of taught me when to shut up.
Cool. Well, what happened after that as a result of learning that lesson?
I was able to get another job very quickly, working back out at the Air Force Base here in town. I worked for an organization called ESGR, which is Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve. Going back to what we were talking about how hard it is on the employers for reservists and guardsmen. And my job was to educate employers on why they can't fire a reservist or guardsman who's deployed. And I did not realize what that job actually was when I took it. I thought it was going to be a logistical position where I was, in charge of inventories and putting on events, which both I can do well. Well, it ends up being, it was a very thank you for your service environment, which for those who don't know, even as a 15-year-old veteran of the Army, I despise the thank you for your service. I feel like it's an overreaction to another overreaction to another overreaction, and I don't like it. And so I was really miserable at that job. But for 3 years, I just held my tongue and I did my job. And 2020 hit, 2021, January, we all get sent home. We're not allowed to work. Everything is distanced. And for a year and a half at the end of that job, I didn't even have to do anything. It was just a government contract job where I had to check in once a week. And I had to check with the governor's office to see if our state was still shut down, which it was. So I couldn't even do my job, but I think that was really the change, was having a job that I ultimately realized I hated, but just not talking about it and just doing my job and doing what I was getting paid to do and looking for my exit ticket.
And was that your exit ticket?
My exit ticket was the jab. When our former commander-in-chief said, if you want to do business with the federal government, you will get the vaccine, I refused, and I sent in a letter and I said, I'm not going to take this. And so I looked at my wife and said, I'm sorry, babe, I'm not taking this. I didn't know anything about it. I wasn't against it as much as I don't know anything about it. And this came out really fast and I'm not sure I trust it yet. And then I just won't be told what to do by the government like that. So I bad attitude up against it. And I looked at my wife and I said, we're going to be poor. And she's like, okay, I support you. And so I quit my job.
Yeah. So you married the right woman.
I did.
Yeah. She's awesome. Okay. So at that point, did you have a long-term plan for your life? Was it just sort of going along to get along?
Going along to get along. I've never had a career. I've been in job after job after job. I never went to college. Like I said, I've got a homeschool high school degree, which today that is worth a lot more than it was back when I was 19, right? But I've never really had one specific path I wanted to follow. I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up, other than Midwest preparedness. That's about the only thing I know I want to do.
How'd you get into Midwest preparedness?
Well, after the whole thing with the jab, Tag reached out to me and was like, well, I reached out to him and a few others. I'm like, hey, I'm going to be unemployed. If you know of anything, let me know. And so he called me and he hooked me up with the job I got immediately after leaving ESGR, which then put me in direct contact with Patrick. Patrick and I, for 2.5 years, were road buddies. We drove around all the time stumping, for EMP Shield. And we became really good friends. And so about halfway through that friendship, he's been doing Midwest forever. And I had stopped doing all the prepper shows after Trump got elected, and it kind of killed the prepper shows in 2016, 17. So I just walked away from it. Since him and I became friends, I'm like, hey man, what do you think about if I came out and gave one of the old classes I used to give at the expos? And he's like, sure. So I went out and I gave a class, and then I started helping him, rounding people up for classes and kind of shouting through a microphone, which then led to him wanting me to do the stage work, which then led to what it is now, really. So it was kind of just all this providential things that just lined up in the right sequence and the right order that led to me being where I'm at now.
Yeah. And then you got a different job along the way.
I did. I now work for a friend of mine within the community, selling trusses at Wheeler Truss. In fact, right now I'm doing this interview over my lunch break. So I travel around Northeast Kansas and I sell wooden roof and floor trusses. I work with lumber yards and coordinate job deliveries and all that sort of stuff.
Cool. Well, a sales job is a great one because they often pay on commission. And
Yep.
I imagine you're a good salesman.
I'm not too bad. The first year working for them, I did just shy of $250,000 in sales, not knowing what the hell I was doing. This year, I think I'm already close to 500,000, on track to probably break $1 million in sales.
Awesome.
And I still don't know what I'm doing. It's just the art of massaging relationships and talking is all you have to do as a salesman.
Yeah. Well, and you have to have follow up, which you have.
Yeah, I am very anal about follow-up. I have spreadsheets upon spreadsheets upon spreadsheets. Excel, my life revolves around Excel spreadsheets.
Something I'm stealing from you, because I watch how you coordinate Midwest Preparedness, is for Self-Reliance Festival. I've always felt like I have to email people individually for things.
Yeah.
You blatantly go out, you do a group email about, are you going to sponsor? Are you going to participate in the whatever? And then sometimes I'm sure you follow up individually,
Yep.
but you get the first information out. And I've always hesitated to do that because it's not very personal, but then it gets it done.
Yep.
And gives people time to think about it. So that's
Right.
one of the things I've learned from you.
I see it as an opening salvo, right? I know I'm probably not going to get a bunch of yeses from that first email, but the point of the first email isn't to get a yes, it's to plant the seed. And this is why I BCC everybody. So one, reply all is cancer, and whoever invented it should get kicked square in the nuts. But two, all they see in the recipient line is their name. It is personal. You can make it very personal by doing BCC, and you don't blow up anyone's inbox, but it shows only going to them.
Right. But we all know that was a group email.
Of course you do. I don't have time to write. I ask 100 people to sponsor every season. I ask 100 people to potentially be speakers. And if I did that individually, I would be 3 years sitting behind a keyboard, because at that point you can't use a template. If you're writing it to be personal, you're going to, how's the kids? How's Kathy? Did the dog's eye come out okay? Or does he have, rectal cancer now? You have to really get personal if you do it that way. So I wait for the second email. The second email, that's when it goes out individually to people. And that's where I get personal after the seed's been planted. And I try to do it that way just because, one, it's less invasive, and two, it's the first shot is the big shot. Everything else after that goes very personal.
Okay, so back to the topic at hand.
Yeah.
But that is something I've stolen from you, so thank you. If you meet somebody now, if you were to meet somebody who is like Angry Bobby,
yeah,
what would be the one thing you think you would want to tell them that might actually help them make a difference? Is there anything you think you could say?
At this point, it would depend on if I could gauge whether they're a tough love type or whether they're sensitive. The boss I had when I was a painter was tough love, and I actually learned a lot from him. And he's the one who would walk up to me and be like, Bobby, nobody fucking cares. Shut up and do your job. Oh, roger that, boss. And I'd go do my job, right? But not everyone responds to that very well. I have been in a situation where I've ran into Angry Bobby, and I'm like, hey, man, it seems really bad right now, but believe it or not, it's nowhere near as bad as you think it is, or at least it's not as bad as it feels. And I'm not saying it's not bad, but it feels worse than it is, man. I've been there. If you want to get a beer sometime, let's get a beer, and I just leave it there, man. I don't overtalk it.
Yeah. Well, because saying this, here's what I notice is when people have a message like that, they say it, and the person nods, and they say it again, and the person nods, and I'll hear people say the same thing 5 times to the same person.
Yep.
You pretty much only need to say it once.
Yep.
Maybe
Put the
twice.
ball in their court. They'll hit it back when they're ready.
And they're not going to hit back right away most of the time.
No. And shockingly enough, there have been a few times where sometimes it just takes giving a dude a hug. Believe it or not, man, we're people too. We have this tough external shell. We're taught to be this tough external shell, and we have to be the tough external shell because our job is to lead, our job is to defend and protect society and our families. But that means we internalize a lot of shit. And sometimes, man, a dude just needs a hug, and sometimes he needs to get it from another dude who's been there, been in that trench.
So we've been called here to open up the homestead to more visitors, and we're setting up a whole both transient oriented community plus owners, homestead owners in my neighborhood. And the reason is that people come here and they just have a tendency to get a reset and then find the thing they need and then do it. And that reset, I think, is being separated from technology and other things and around people who aren't going to push their whatever on you.
Yeah.
Their opinion. I'm going to ask questions. I'll share my opinion, but I'm not here to convince you to do, to go be a better father or whatever.
Yeah.
So, that's really insightful about sometimes people just need a hug. Sometimes they just need a home cooked meal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's emotion's a weird thing, and male emotion is especially complex because it's so simple, but it's not. We think it is, but it's really not. It's complex, and sometimes just a home cooked meal probably would do it.
Yeah. Somebody says, may I come? Well, the answer is on this weekend, I have a class, small motor maintenance and repair. So you can come to that class. That's at livingfreeintennessee.com. We also do a free meetup on Sundays once a month. So this Sunday, we're doing a biochar demo at 1 p.m. and potluck.
Nice.
That's ways
cool.
That's ways you can engage with us right now. I don't have I have an Airbnb we rent. I have a camper I will rent, but the air conditioning's broke, and we're building camping cabins for people and a shower house and all of that. But we're in the process of building that infrastructure.
That's cool.
So the answer is there's not a lot of places to stay here yet, but there will be. That's anyway. So that hug thing's really important. Okay, so what in the world possessed you to run the Midwest Preparedness event, go home for 2 days, and then come down to Camden, Tennessee for Self-Reliance Festival? How excited are you for your next 2 weeks of your life?
I'm very excited for them. I've always been a fan of SRF. I've always been a huge fan of yours. I've been a huge fan of John's. I've been a huge fan of everybody I meet out there. If I had to, it's just a really good show. It's a really fun event. And I wasn't sure I was going to get to come this year because, as you know, and some others know, my granddaughter was born on September 11th, actually. And we didn't know when she was going to come in September. And so there was always a chance that I would not come. But I think I told you, I'm like, I am there 100%, 99% guarantee I'll be there.
Yeah.
There's a 1% chance I won't be. Well, it became apparent when she was going to be born, and it made it even easier. But I'm coming to your event right after ours because you've done that for us. You've come to our event a week before yours, which is insane. That's insanity to travel halfway across the country a weekend before your own event. That took some balls for you to do that, man, because that's tough. You're leaving everything in the charge of other people at that point. So I would absolutely be remiss as a friend of yours to abandon you when you need me to come help you with yours.
Well, I can tell having you as the MC makes the event way better than when I'm MCing, even though I'm a good MC, because I can then concentrate on the people.
Right. Yeah, it clears you up to do what you've got to do.
Yeah, and you're a great MC. So right. I did have a backup MC also from your area, just in case.
Yeah.
But
We're preppers, right? Plans
Yeah.
within plans.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited. I am not going to actually go to your event right before my event this time because I did learn that lesson the hard way.
Dude. Yeah.
You're like, really?
Yeah.
You'll come speak? Okay.
Yeah. I was like, cool, guys, Nicole's gonna come talk at our event. Like, she's got to turn around and leave on Saturday morning.
So I can go to Camden. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, there are worlds where I would do something like that again, but I was just lucky that year that everything was under control by the time I got there. So
Yeah.
And
For
I
sure.
felt like I wanted to support y'all and see what you were all about. So so this year we've really increased our focus on the whole family experience. So having an SRF Kids program, which if anybody's listening and can run that program, my SRF Kids leader had something really great happen in her life, but she cannot come. So we will be able to run it either way. But if somebody feels inclined to work with the children, reach out to me. I have the whole curriculum and we will talk about that. If not, I'm running it.
Yay!
Which is fine.
It's Mommy Nicole.
I used to be a school teacher. Like, it'll be okay.
But
go. I'd love to have time to talk to people. So, but the kids program's that important to me. And we also have SRF Teens or Youth. And do you know who's running it?
Who's running it?
Alan Booker.
Oh, look at that guy.
Look who came. Look who showed up. Alan, what a surprise to see you.
Hey, Nicole.
He knows. Yep. We all knew he was coming.
I'm shocked. I'm genuinely surprised.
So we've had Alan out to talk about how self-reliant is your kitchen, which is it's actually one of my favorite sessions he ever did. But then the problem is every time he does a session, it's also one of my favorite sessions he ever did because Alan is a true teacher and he meets students where they are and brings them along. And so that's something I admire about you, Alan, just so you know. Like he was able to tell me that I had more work to do on my garden without making me feel bad. Because we measured the sugar bricks level of my leaves and I think it was like a 5. And he's like, that's good. When you get to 8, Nicole, the bugs stop eating it. So what he was telling me is I'm still growing bug food. But he didn't say it that way.
That's a gift. That's a real gift to be able to get someone to
8 certain bugs stop eating it. It's a progression, you know. You get it. The higher you get, the more you get. When you get to 14, then everything stops. That's really pretty cool.
Yeah. So he also gave me a goal of 14 on that day. Yeah. So, but anyway, he started talking, not to talk about soil biology, not to talk about how to get a permaculture plan, not to talk about developing local food communities, which is another presentation that if you haven't seen him do that one, you should. But he said, you know, I really like working with teens, Nicole. So that's how the SRF Teens program even came to be. So Alan, like top down, tell us like what got you interested in that topic?
I mean, a lot of people who know me and my work are probably familiar with the fact that I'm normally teaching like engineers and scientists and architects and so forth. And so we teach professional level, like graduate level courses, things that would be like 400, 500 level college classes. And, you know, we've got people with decades of industry experience coming in and we're doing all these really deep design, regenerative design courses and so forth. And so, and permaculture at professional level and so forth. So a lot of people are maybe more familiar with me and have seen me out doing that sort of stuff. And so what I guess a lot of them don't know is I've done a lot of work over the years with teens, more high school and into college. And I really enjoy teaching that age group. I think the reason is because it's so high leverage to teach at that age group. You know, it's like they're still so open and there's so many possibilities of, you know, things that, and you get them excited about things and it can really take them on like a, you know, take them on a journey from just learning that certain things are even possible or having somebody see them and acknowledge that they have the capacity to do interesting things. And so, and open that up and in a good way for them. So I think that there's just that thing of watching the eyes light up, and then get to watch them over the next few years as that sort of unfolds, and it deepens over time. So it's part of the reason it's just fun working with that group. Plus the fact they just got energy and they're ready to do all kinds of crazy fun things. And so yeah, that's part of the whole thing. It's a great balance to sitting in a classroom and teaching, graduate level stuff to engineers. It's the fun balance to that. But I think it's probably even more important because that's the age group. And we also do teach some of these advanced classes for college students that are, on that track. And we try to make it as fun and exciting and engaging as we possibly can and get them outdoors and do stuff. But when we're doing something like we're going to do at SRF, it's going to be completely hands-on, like out there doing it. And the other thing that's fun is that in that setting, we can adapt completely to the group that shows up. So, we got several things we're going to play with. And we'll take and figure out where everybody is, and we'll jump in at that level. And if we got students that show up that are pretty advanced, we'll just jump in there and go deeper. So that's it. So I'll be there running it, and Oakland will be along with me. And so Oakland's kind of the secret weapon. If you haven't met Oakland, it's like every time I turn around, it's like, hey, Oakland, do you know about wood gasifiers? Oh yeah. This was my first wood gasifier. And so I needed it. So I just sort of welded it up, so that kind of thing. So Oakland's, every time you turn around, it's like, she does that too. And so she'll be along, and the two of us will be, I guess, the two leads on the program. We will be like running all day, both days during all the SRF hours. So we're going to start like at 9 a.m. on Saturday, and we're going to go. And we got stuff all the way to the end of the day, and then same thing the next day. So you can basically 14 up to 19, you can come, and we're going to basically whatever however deep you want to go, we'll go there. Yeah.
Okay, so what kinds of things do you have prepared at this point? So I know you're not necessarily doing everything you say, but what does the typical participation in the SRF Teens program look like?
Yeah. So we'll do everything. We got the whole list, and I'm famous for like we'll get it done. So we're going to start by, we're going to have our own area. We're going to be a little away from the main area, so we're pretty close, but a little bit off. A place where we can build our own fire and tend our own fire. So we're going to have a little challenge, see if we can get the fire started using some primitive methods when we first arrive. And we're going to get the fire up and tend it while we're there. And then I thought it'd be really fun to go through the rules of three. And if you don't know what that is, it's something that is so fundamental to understanding self-reliance and how to keep yourself in good shape under all kinds of different circumstances. But we're going to start from the first one, and we're going to go all the way through them on the first day and have practical hands-on about how to keep it all together. And in any circumstance, whether you happen to be out in the wilderness or in a city or traveling or whatever, all these things keep on popping up again and again, and they're your priorities for keeping yourself in safe and in good shape. So we're going to go through all that. That includes, well, I won't give away too much. We'll just say that we're going to go through all of it, and with a lot of hands-on. And then as we go on into it, there's going to be a little bit more about just the practicalities of situational awareness. And I think the other thing that really I've noticed is a lot of kids that are coming up into their teen years now are really aware that there's a lot of crazy things going on in the world, and they're not really certain, like, why is that, and what does that mean for me, and what I need to be looking at, like, should I go to college? Does that make sense? and a lot of questions like that. So I do want to spend a little bit of time sitting down and just having that conversation about where we are in the world and what we're likely to see coming up, and and answer questions practically about, does getting into student debt for $200,000 make sense at this point in time? And the answer is, for a lot of people, the answer may not be yes. And there are maybe some better alternatives. But on some cases, it might make sense to go to college, but we want to minimize that debt, right? That student debt, or maybe eliminate it completely. So these are the kind of just practical, things that we see oftentimes, especially with older high schoolers that are asking these kinds of questions. And so what I want to be able to do is not only just do some practical stuff, but also have a little bit of time to sit down and just do real talk about what's going on in the world and what's happening, and answer questions and just see what questions they have, right? Including all kinds of stuff that pops up today. I get questions from students that age about AI and working with AI and all that. And we're happy to hit all those things because that's on our radar too. So over 2 days, we're going to cover a lot of ground.
And I know you've learned a thing or two about AI.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I unfortunately know more about that than I care to. I actually started doing research in AI in 1989, believe it or not. So been around that field for a while, and just did a big presentation on AI, a presentation called AI, the New Global Arms Race, last week. Yeah.
I'm not surprised to hear that. Every time he pops on, he's like, and another topic. You're kind of opalining me all the time when we talk. Opalining's now a verb.
That is the case. Speaking of which, we have to do this. Guess what? Hey, Opalin. Yeah. Come on, come join us, please. So Opalin is here with me. She's helping me work on a bunch of stuff.
Hey, everybody.
I thought I'd just have Opalin say hello. So
Hello.
We've got a bunch of stuff, and I'm just going to spring something on Nicole live because that's what I'm going to do. I was looking at my whole thing, and I was sitting here going, did we get a chicken to process on Saturday?
Oh, you need a chicken?
Yeah, I forgot to ask you about that.
Oh, yeah. I bet I can get you a chicken from Hofgrid Homestead, or Hofgrid Meat Company is their name. I'll see if they have one. We have a number of people. Okay, guys, if you have a chicken, you can bring to Self-Reliance Festival. You need one or two.
Crowdsource a chicken. That's the way to do it.
Crowdsource a chicken. I mean, one of the things I've realized is that a lot of kids have never seen an animal processed.
Yeah.
So, I've got an expert here. So, yeah, we were talking about the kitchen book, and talking about I need to get pictures of processing something like a pig or a goat or whatever. And Oakland's like, well, just let me know. I'll do it for you. You can take the pictures.
I mean, I probably have pictures I could just give you.
Yeah. So how many? What different types of animals have you processed by now?
Pigs, goats, chickens, rabbits, duck.
And turkeys?
No, peacock.
Turkeys are insane.
Peacock.
Peacock.
Okay, absolutely.
Wait a minute. Did you just say peacock?
I did.
How did that taste?
Fabulous.
Really?
Yeah.
No kidding. All right.
Apparently, my neighbors let a small flock of them go free, and I was no longer willing to tolerate the 5 a.m. screaming damsel in distress on my roof.
Yeah, they're loud.
Time to invite you to dinner.
Yeah.
They also poop really big.
Yeah.
That was something I never foresaw being on my who processed what bingo card.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of crazy things, but never peafowl. That's cool, actually.
Oh, guinea. That's the other one.
Oh, guinea fowl?
Yeah. We raise guineas as well.
Yep.
Yeah. The reason I ask about turkey is there's this hilarious story. I was doing a permaculture design certification course at this farm, and they wanted us to do a processing demo, and I was like, okay, we'll do chickens because it's a great entry level thing to do. So, well, actually, I don't have any chickens I'm ready to process, but I have turkeys.
Turkeys. Yeah.
And then we go look at the turkeys. Okay, Nicole, they were 45 pounds.
Wow.
I taught that class. I got the bruises. I live to tell about it.
He had a whole flock of them he hadn't processed. They had kept on letting them grow and grow and grow. And so we get there and it's like, he's got a dozen 45-pound turkeys. And I'm like, you don't understand, you don't understand what it's going to be to process this bird. That's one, the viscera inside of it is, it's incredibly strong on a bird that size. It's a workout just to eviscerate a bird that big. So anyway, we won't be doing that, and we'll be taking just maybe a chicken. That probably sounds like a good starting point.
Yeah,
but
chicken
what we
or rabbit.
Do, just to give you some idea of the sort of stuff we're going to do, we'll process the chicken. We'll pull the meat off the bone. We'll actually start a chicken stock over the fire. And then the next day on Sunday, we'll actually make chicken stew using the chicken stock and the chicken meat we processed, and they have that for lunch. So, when I say we're going to do hands-on, we're going to do hands-on. We're going to have fun.
So it's self-reliance boot camp.
Right.
For you.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Exactly. And if you have a compass, by the way, and if you're one of the students that wants to come, bring your compass. That'll be great. We're going to have a fun little bit of navigation around the marina. So you have a little hunt that you got to go on. Radio comes. The other thing, I don't even know if I've mentioned this to Nicole yet or not, but we're going to send out the email. So here's my rule. Okay, kids, don't bring your cell phone. Nothing that hits the grid. However, if you have any off-grid communication device, you may bring that. So if you want to stay in contact, if you need it for medical, keeping in contact with parents, then a cell phone will be okay. But if you don't need it for that, no cell phones. But if you have radio, ham radio that you can keep in contact with parents, GMRS, some completely off-grid way of keeping in contact that is not only allowed but encouraged, right? So maybe this is starting to give you a flavor of how what we're gonna do, right? Yeah.
Self-reliance fall camp. It's not summer.
There you go.
Fall camp. Autumn camp.
Oh yeah. And I guess while we're at it, if we got one of the young men who's willing to who's going to be coming, who would like to volunteer for, we're going to look at what it takes to stay warm in the wintertime.
Yeah.
So we need a volunteer who maybe can reach out to Nicole and let them know that if you're willing to have a little bit of fun, maybe get a little bit wet and a little bit, then because the way to understand this is to actually see it and feel it. So we're going to bring the stuff. We're going to figure out why maybe wearing cotton in wet, cold weather is not a great idea. Yeah. And what you should be doing instead, right? So if you don't want to die of hypothermia, there's a few little things we ought to be thinking about, right?
So that person needs to bring a change of clothes, maybe?
We'll actually bring some stuff that they can, like the different materials that they'll be like, okay, let's try this and get you wet and blow some wind across you and see what happens, right? And it's really amazing. I think until you've actually tried it. Yeah. There's also the whole idea of like a sleeping bag with the ground pad versus without a ground pad, and why even a really great sleeping bag with no ground pad can get you in big trouble, right?
Definitely.
So we're gonna like, and we're gonna look at how you layer and how you stay warm and all of that. And we do it practically. It's like we're gonna try it. We're gonna show different options, and that's the sort of stuff we're gonna get into. And so my goal is I want all the adults to want to be able to come over to what we're doing.
I want to take that class. I'm like, maybe you should do that at my spring workshop. We're just going to do survival class at my spring.
Yeah. So,
we're all like, man, I want to try that.
Right. I figure if we do a teens program and all the adults don't want to be in it, then I'm not doing my job,
Yeah.
I think you should find a way. I think you should find a way to integrate the let's get everybody really cold right before the singles meetup.
I think what we'll do is we'll just take all the kids and throw them in the lake, and then tell them it's time to start the fire. That might be the way to get them really motivated, right?
Yeah.
Everybody in the water. Now you're motivated to get the fire. And I think we might actually use the sailor's lighter.
Cool.
Yeah. It's a fun little. Most people have never seen a sailor's lighter, so we might actually try to see if they can get the fire started using a sailor's lighter.
What happens if they don't get the fire lit?
Oh, we're all cold.
It's cold.
That wouldn't be fun.
No.
Of course, how are we going to cook? I mean, it's like, so they better come ready to start a fire, And I guess we might help them out a little, but with this crew, I'm expecting them to come in and just like be all over it. We'll bring some good tinder. We'll bring some good kindling for them. Lay it all out and go, okay, there you go. Show us how it's done. And we might ask a few helpful questions and if scratch your head. That's interesting. How's that?
Are we going to talk about where the sun rises and sets?
Yeah, we'll do that with navigation.
Yeah,
and so forth. It's really amazing. I just met a young gentleman at the last conference I was speaking at. He was the youngest one there at 19 and had no clue about directions, like none. It was pretty amazing. And then to just like stand there with him and figure out which way was north based upon what the sun was doing in the sky and everything else. And then get the whole idea of like, okay, get the map in your head. And now we know where we are on the landscape and think about the map. Now we can actually point from where we are to like where you live. It's several states away, right? There's something really interesting about what happens when in your mind, you know where you are on the landscape and you know what the directions are and so forth. And one of the things that a lot of the nature connection schools have figured out that's pretty profound is this. When you take somebody who is, well, actually any age, but especially who's young, and they're lost on the landscape, they don't know which way north, south, east, west is, they don't know where they are, they got to use one of these crazy things just to get from one place to the other because, we're using Google Maps or whatever.
And that black box changes the way the map is. So north is up.
Right.
So you don't even have a point of reference of where you're going.
Yeah. Unless you specifically nail it down and force it to do it.
I need to learn how to do that because Tactical did that to my phone once and it was amazing on a trip. Yeah.
So what happens is when they stop being lost on the landscape, they stop being lost in life. It's like something about the path in life becomes more clear when you stop being lost on the landscape. There's something very deep in us about like, if we don't even know which way the sun is going to rise in the morning, that somehow it's difficult to find our way in life.
Yeah.
Right. And there's something very deep built into us that when you start knowing where to expect the sun to rise and the sun to set and, where the moon is going to be and everything, that all of a sudden you start like feeling more grounded and oriented in life.
Yeah.
So, that's an interesting little tidbit,
Well, I'm so excited about this program, and that's one piece that has me excited about you two doing it.
Yeah.
Is it's not just how do you live off the land and cook chicken over a fire that you processed the day before. It's how does this relate to the bigger picture grounding? We had a lot of lessons recently about young people not being okay.
Yeah.
Young people are not okay.
Yeah.
So it's kind of up to us. It's not just kind of up to us. It is up to us to find a way to reach out and help them be okay.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for the SRF Teens program. Guys, if you want to sign up for that, it's selfreliancefestival.com. Get your tickets. There's just a form. It's not an extra fee. You just register your teen or they register themselves. That's fine too. and sign up. And if you put your teen in SRF Kids, I will reassign them to the teen program. That has already happened. It's like one person had like 5 children, and I was like, okay, here's a cutoff date. They go there. But it's the other thing that's cool about it is you're putting teens with teens going through the same kind of struggle.
Yep.
With getting the fire going. They communicate with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And those communication skills are so important later in life. So I love it. So thanks both of you for doing that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
I love springing stuff on Nicole live online. Like what we're springing.
Yeah, you just got my poker face. It's like, okay, a chicken. I mean, that's not a hard one, Alan. Like,
yeah.
Hey, Nicole, I'm not going to be there to run the program. That might actually get a reaction, but yeah.
Ooh, don't do that to her. Please don't do that to her.
Yeah, I already had to deal with one of those. I've had my one cancellation. I'm good.
Right.
Every show has one cancellation. That's the rule of shows.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, yeah, it should be a lot of fun, and just kind of really looking forward to seeing what the mix is of different levels of experience and everything. Oh, I didn't mention. Yeah, we are gonna if we've got the right group, we will have a super secret mission on Saturday night.
Yes.
So yeah, and for a little bit, we'll tell you more. But here's the thing: if we have any of the students that are a little more advanced, and they have their own sleeping bag and ground pad and tent, then bring that in your backpack, and we're going to have a little challenge during the mission, right? So have your backpack with your tent and your ground pad and your sleeping bag, and we have a special little challenge that you can try. But if you're going to try it, make certain you know how to set up your tent. That's important.
Yeah,
right? That is important.
Yeah. So
I say this as a person who has to always look at my tent very carefully every time I set it up.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's we'll so basically I guess what we'll say is, I don't want anybody to be like a little nervous to show up. We'll absolutely take care of everybody. And if you're a little new and don't know, we'll absolutely take care of you. But on the other hand, if you're like pretty advanced, then hey, we'll take and run from there, and we'll let you challenge yourself a little bit as well. So we'll have fun with it any which way.
That's what I said. You meet people where they are and bring them along.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the brilliance of this entire setup.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in about 2 weeks.
Yep.
We're getting towards the end of the show. Do you want to cross promote anything? Or
you have a coupon code for tickets right now, don't you?
No, he can.
I do.
No, I do.
do.
Yeah. Okay. So selfreliancefestival.com for your tickets. The big announcements this week are that over the weekend, I decided to waive all vendor fees. If you have a ticket and you want to set up a vendor booth, you absolutely can. You just need to go and fill out the vendor form. I will have an email going out about that today too, but there's a vendor tab at selfreliancefestival.com. And that's because we had about 20 vendors signed up, and I'd like more. And I have been hearing that people are feeling a bit of a financial crunch this year. So just come sell your stuff, man. Like the whole point of this is to build community, and part of community is commerce and being able to support each other's endeavors as we move forward. So that's the announcement. But also through Monday, if you were listening to last night's live, the coupon code is SRF for 20% off. So
nice.
I would say this weekend would be a really good time to get your ticket at selfreliancefestival.com.
Yep.
Alan Oakland, you got anything or?
Not at all. We are. So Oakland is, in addition to helping me with a lot of other stuff, she is on the board of directors of the Institute.
Yep.
That's another one of her secret super skills. She's been on the board of this is her sixth nonprofit over the last 2 decades. And so she's also run the books for all of us, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's our treasurer as well. So she keeps me in line since it's a 501c3 and all that. So,
Yeah.
and so she part of the reason she's here is we're working on a bunch of institute stuff right now. And we're about to roll out a whole new bunch of classes. So that's going to be for like the professional types, the engineers and so forth. And look forward to that. That's coming here pretty soon. So we're in the process of getting a whole new level of stuff out. So it'll be coming pretty soon.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to see that. Let me know. I'll cross promote.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Spags, what do you got?
As we said earlier, the weekend right before SRF is a Midwest Preparedness Project. If you can afford and have the time to attend both, attend both. But the SRF right now is the last of the events on the Great American Preparedness Tour. So that's where you can get your SRF token and complete the tour this year.
This is not an SRF token. It's actually a Midwest Preparedness token, but it looks like this and is red.
Nice.
It's on my other desk, actually, right
Yeah,
now.
that's funny. Last night I had your token. Today you have mine.
That's the way it is. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
We'll see you soon. Everybody, make it a great rest of your week. We'll see you next time.
See ya.